I'm not here today to share some hidden secrets with you. Instead, I will give you real valuable information, and it would be better to print out all these rules from this video to keep them in front of your PC and read every time before you go into trade. Good luck and don't gamble.
52 Trading Never Do's. Lessons every trader learns the hard way. These aren't just suggestions, they're survival rules. Every successful trader has either learned them the easy way or the painful way. Let's get into it. Never oversize. That is when you start becoming irrational. Blowing up while still being right is the fastest way to ruin. Never trade when tired or sleep deprived. Decision fatigue has ended more traders than liquidation ever could. Never trade without a defined edge. Entering without one is just gambling with extra steps. If you can't explain your edge in a single sentence, you probably don't have one. Never enter a position out of boredom. The desire to always be in a trade leads to suboptimal returns. More often than not, doing nothing is the best move. If you find yourself taking trades just to feel busy or because you haven't traded in a while, check yourself. Trading for action leads to sloppy decisions and losses. There's no prize for the most trades, only for the most profitable trades. Sometimes the best trade is no trade. Never trade after a big loss. Tilt sets in and you try to win it all back in one bad bet. Trying to recover everything at once is a guaranteed way to lose even more. Never enter a position without an exit plan. Whether it's a time-based stop, price stop, invalidation, or catalyst-driven exit, define it before you enter. Remember, the last moment of objectivity is before you place the trade. Once you're in, it's much harder to admit you're wrong, so decide beforehand when to cut the loss. Never marry your bags. The market doesn't care about your conviction, cut or be cut. Never trade your P&L, trade the market. Chasing losses or fixating on past wins clouds judgment and distorts execution. Never assume liquidity will be there when you need it. The exit door is always smaller than you imagine. Liquidity isn't something you decide, the market does. Never mistake randomness for strategy. Buying because price is going up or shorting because it feels high isn't trading, it's blind betting. Even with good risk management, you'll bleed out over time if your entries are based on nothing. Never make the same mistake twice. Trading mistakes are inevitable. Repeating them is unacceptable. Losing the same way twice is unacceptable. Never play only offense. Survival greater than everything. If you don't bet, you can't win. If you lose all your chips, you can't bet. Never let pride, ego, or overconfidence take over. Always stay humble. Never trade in situations where you don't have control, such as FOMC events. Never get complacent. A strategy that worked in one regime may stop working in another. Trading is a craft that requires continuous self-improvement. Comfort is often the enemy of your P&L. Never ever average losers after your reasoning has been invalidated. Never trade with certainty, trade with conviction. Never assume the market must do something, especially based on recent patterns. The market doesn't owe you continuity or logic. Just because a market has been rising or falling steadily doesn't mean it can't abruptly reverse. Avoid words like surely or can't possibly in trading. Stay flexible. Anything can happen. Never mistake win rate for everything. Maximizing winning trades for the sake of feeling good is a trap. Taking profits too early or avoiding necessary small losses ultimately hurts profitability. Never fall apart after a big loss or get euphoric after a big win. Emotional resilience is a trader's strongest asset. Never ignore price action after news. If the market reacts opposite to what you expected, get out. The market is telling you something you don't see. Never trade on borrowed conviction. If you buy on someone else's tip, you'll need them to call your exit too. And when they go silent, you're stuck. As Livermore said, nobody makes big money on what someone else tells him to do. Hone your own craft, build your own system. Never go against your intuition. If something feels off, it usually is. Never try to catch every move. It's tempting to try to grab every up and down in the market, but that's a fool's errand. Markets will still be there, and there are ample opportunities to make you whole. You don't need to swing at every pitch. Never underestimate the power of failure. Failing early and failing often, while staying in the game, is how you get better. Never hold on to losers when your thesis is invalidated, especially after a massive drop. "I've lost too much to sell now" is how you go to zero. Never let getting back to break even dictate your decisions. That mindset leads to overtrading and eventually full liquidation. Never focus only on entries. A trade isn't over until you've exited. Knowing when to cash out is just as important as knowing when to enter. Never ignore the boring part: position sizing, stops, risk, reward. It's what keeps you in business. Don't wait for a catastrophic loss to teach you this lesson. Never trade for the adrenaline rush. Trade for the win. Never fall into the illusion of strength. It's often just lagging behind reality. Never stay in a position out of hope and wishful thinking. Never underestimate risk management. Prioritize protecting capital over chasing profits. Take care of your losses, and the profits will take care of themselves. Never exit or enter a position recklessly. The same way you scale in, you should scale out. All in, all out is a recipe for disaster. Never make a bet you can't afford to lose. No single trade should ever be big enough to take you out of the game. You should be able to be wrong 20 or 30 times in a row and still have capital left. Never allow a single position to jeopardize your trading career. Never trade outside your edge. If it's not there, sit out. Forcing trades outside your framework is how accounts erode. Never assume your edge is permanent. Markets evolve, edges fade, and what worked last cycle may be useless in the next. Keep refining, keep testing. Stagnation is death. By the way, this also applies to the current bullish crypto cycle and alt season. Never judge a trade solely by its outcome. Good trades lose money sometimes, and bad trades can get lucky. Focus on execution over results. Never worry about looking stupid or staying in a position because of your public opinion. Many have blown up because they feared public shame. Cut your losses without hesitation. The market doesn't care about your pride, neither should you. Never underestimate the power of stepping away. If you're in a losing streak, liquidate everything and take a break. Mental capital is just as important as financial capital. The key is to break the negative emotional spiral. Once you come back, keep your size small and increase exposure only when you gain back your confidence. These lessons were learned thanks to the books I've read, the smart traders I've learned from, and the endless mistakes I've made along the way. Trading is lonely. It hurts. It makes you question everything. But if I had to choose again, I'd still take this over everything. Hope it was useful. Good luck.